guys, welcome back. Today's video is going to be my reading wrap up for the months of August and September. I think I read a total of 17 books in those months and I've yet to do a wrap up. So that's what we're gonna do today. I read a little bit of everything, mostly romance. As you guys know, I dived a little bit more into fantasy nearing the end of September, and I'm still in my fantasy kick now. It's about the middle of October when I'm filming this. Still in a fantasy kick, and then I think I was reading a bit of spooky books. You guys saw some vlogs with me reading some spooky books over the past few months, and a few rom-coms thrown in there as well. So a little bit of a mix of everything, with the basis being romance books. I'm gonna get straight into it. We're gonna start with the books that I own, and I'm gonna go in no particular order, and then we'll jump into the books that I don't own and I read on Kindle Unlimited. I'm gonna start with these little guys first. In the Company of Witches and When the Crow's Away. First off, they're mass market paperbacks. They're so adorable. Like, the size of them is adorable, but also the covers of them are adorable. These are the perfect witchy books to read with Halloween coming up if you want like cozy witchy vibes. There's a murder that happens at this family's Airbnb. I listened to both of them on audiobook, and I recommend the audio. I thought the narrator was really good, but I do think reading it is also a great option. Next we have Deadly Occupants, which I read in this video. I loved this book. I've never seen Pretty Little Liars, but everyone has said that this is like Pretty Little Liars vibes. Very spooky, very airy. It follows these 4 girls who are in college together, and they all live in the same house. At the very beginning of the book, these girls go to this haunted house, and a spirit follows them home. It was very chaotic, very fast-paced, and just a lot of fun. Oh, a book I did not like. A book I did not like. Ready or Not. I think the reason I didn't like this book was because it has continually been advertised to me ever since it came out as a heavy romance book. Like, it's very heavy on the romance. That's always what I've been told. This is a romance book, but it does not focus too heavily on the romance. Like, it's there. I don't think anything with that relationship was lacking in any way, but it is truly just so heavy on following this girl's pregnancy journey. And at the time that I read this in this video, I just was not in the mood to watch her continually make decisions throughout her pregnancy, and I just like didn't really like this book. The more that I think about it, also the less I like it. Athema by Kari Lake. Kari Lake is my it girl of the fall. Kari Lake is literally my it girl author of the fall. This is her newest release that just came out. It's not completed. I believe it's going to be a duet or a duology. It was so good. This is everything that I've ever wanted in a dark fantasy book. It was slow burn. There was these dark fantasy elements, a lot of like weird creatures within these woods that people can get banished to. And then there's also this hot man named Zavander, the MMC of the book, who has this cool little scorpion tattoo on him, but he can pull the scorpion tattoo off of him and use it as a weapon, make it get bigger, smaller. I thought that was really cool, and I mentioned that in the video that I read this book in. I gave this book 4.5 or 5 stars. I think I gave it 4.5 stars, but it's like 4.5, 5. I don't know. It was really fun, and I really loved it, and I cannot wait for the second book in the series. I read 2 other books by Kari Lake as well. Nightshade. This is part of a completed duology. I haven't read the second book yet. I plan to read it soon. This is also another dark gothic fantasy book, but this one had fallen angels in it and kind of a different realm. It was called Nightshade. That's where people go when they die and they don't know what they believe in. They get sent to Nightshade. Another element of this book that I really liked is it was the reincarnation trope, which I'm coming to find out I love that in a book. I love when people who love each other in one lifetime find each other in another lifetime. And then when they like something happens and all their memories come back, and then they realize like we have loved each other before. Why is that so beautiful to me? That happened to these 2 characters. They had loved each other in another lifetime. And something about this book is it was dual POV, but it was more like quadruple, is that the right term? POV, like it had the POV of the 2 characters that had fallen in love before, and then it had the POV of the 2 present day characters who were the main characters, I would say. But it wasn't confusing at all. You would think that'd be confusing, but it wasn't. Before we continue with today's reading wrap up, I do want to take a quick second to thank the sponsor of today's video, which is Rocket Money. I've actually been using Rocket Money for the past year, so when they reached out to me and wanted to collaborate, I was like, absolutely. I use your app every single day. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you cancel subscriptions, lower your bills, and just manage your money better, which is why I downloaded it this past January, because I've been trying to be more financially responsible this year, and I've been trying to pay better attention at where all of my money is going, and specifically pay better attention to all of the subscriptions that I have. I've been using Rocket Money to set my budgets every single month. With Rocket Money, you can analyze your spending habits and set a budget that is custom to you. Also, something that I love is you can get notifications when you exceed that spending limit that you've set in your budgets. So when I go over my grocery budget for the month, Rocket Money sends me that little notification and goes, hey girl, you're $100 over budget. And sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. And then other times I'm like, yeah, I know. We'll try better next month. Rocket Money has helped save its customers up to $740 a year when they're using all of the features that the app offers, with over $500 million in canceled subscriptions alone. To save more and spend less, join the over 5 million members using Rocket Money today. You can go to rocketmoney.com/HeatherMcClary or click the link in the description bar down below to get started with Rocket Money today. That's rocketmoney.com/HeatherMcClary to get started for free. Guys, when I say I love Rocket Money, I actually mean I love Rocket Money. I have a premium subscription that I pay for every single month because I love this app so much, and I love how it helps me organize my finances, helps me budget every single month, and lets me know when I'm exceeding my spending limit. The last book that I read by Carrie Lake, I think I read this in August, and this was my first book by Carrie Lake, and that was Cadia. If you want to jump into a Carrie Lake book for the first time, I think this is a great one to start with because it's not fantasy. It's more just dark academia, and there's not a big fantasy element to it, so it's not confusing to jump straight into it. There's no world building that needs to happen when you jump into this book. You kind of understand what's going on straight away. The FMC of this book, at the very beginning, she watches her mom die, and when her mom dies, this creepy like worm parasite thing crawls out of her mom's mouth, and no one ever believes her that that had come out of her mom when she died. So she's kind of dedicated her life to going to college and going to study medicine to try and figure out what had happened to her mom. But she ends up getting an invitation to go to this Ivy League school where they study the exact parasite that had come out of her mom. At this Ivy League school where she goes to study, enter the MMC of the book, who is a professor at the school. A professor who everyone calls Dr. Death. He's like the main guy that studies this parasite. So then she kind of gets an in with him, and they end up studying it a little bit together. Everything about this was just like dark, gothic, spooky, foggy. Like I got like these vibes while reading it, and I think I gave this one 4.5 stars as well. All the Colors of the Dark. This is not the typical type of book that I read. I ended up picking up this book. It had come, I think it came out like a month or two ago maybe. If you like A Little Life, I think this is a good book that you should read if you're wanting similar vibes. This is way, way less sad than A Little Life. If you've read that book, it's truly trauma porn, or almost trauma porn. Like, it is so traumatizing. This is not on that level of traumatizing, but the way that the writing was in A Little Life, where it had you feeling so connected to those characters, and then you were feeling all of the pain that came along with those characters, that's kind of what happened in this. Also, when I read A Little Life, it took me like 2 months to read. It was truly such a slow read for me. That's how this was as well, except in this one, the main focus is a mystery unraveling over decades, but while that mystery is unraveling over decades, you're getting an in with all of the different characters' lives, and then also the way the author wrote the characters and their trauma and all these bad things happening and this mystery unraveling and kind of this whodunit story unraveling. You just feel so much for the characters, and I actually really enjoyed it. Not Another Love Song by Julie Soto. This was a 5-star read for me. I ate this book the fuck up. I ate this book up. Everything about this book had me giggling, had butterflies in my stomach. I love this Adam Driver looking man. I love this Adam Driver looking man. All you need to know about this book is it is a lovely, riveting romance book. It is spicy, but not an overly amount of spice. I think it was like the perfect amount in my opinion. And the two main characters of the book are both in the Manhattan Pops. He plays the cello and she plays the violin, I think. It's been a bit since I've read this. She's a violinist and he's a cellist. She knows who he is, but he has never noticed her. And then the moment she actually comes on his radar, he starts critiquing every little thing about her. And she's like, what? Stop it. It was perfect. Hollow Heathens. I read this book in a video. I love this book. This is perfect to read in October. Perfect to read right before Halloween gets here. This book is set in a town that gave very much Mystic Falls vibes, but like witchy edition. The town, I believe, is in Maine, but the thing is about the witchy town that this was set in is no one can see this town unless it presents itself to you. So it can only be seen if it wants you to see it, which I thought was really cool. The FMC of the book ends up driving up there to take care of her grandfather because he is very ill and she got a letter. The town presents itself to her so she can go in, but once you go in the town, you cannot leave the town. It won't let you leave until you've completed whatever you were meant to do there. So there's one point at the beginning of the book when she tries to leave and the town literally won't let her. And she's like, huh? I guess this means I haven't completed what I needed to do here. There are these men in this book who are cursed, these certain witches that are cursed, where you can't look at their face, or when you look at their face, you see your biggest fear and it ends up killing you. So they have to wear masks. The MMC of the book is one of those men. And it's very much a forbidden love romance between the two of them because they're not supposed to be together, because the masked men are always looked down upon, like everybody is, stay away from them, stay away from them. And she's just like, I don't wanna. And I'm reading it like, don't run to him, I love him. Oh, not me like flipping open the book and then there's this sentence that I highlighted about them and it says, we'd connected. A kind of connection that seemed as unworldly as this very town and the residents it beheld. They connected so well. And I think the way the author wrote both characters, I just like felt their connection and I really, really loved them. There was a second book in this duology, Bone Island, I own it. I need to read that one. Throughout this entire book, the MMC and his people, the other masked individuals, are trying to break the curse that has been put on them. And then the FMC just keeps getting herself into trouble, to be honest. The last physical book that I have is Immortal Dark. I listened to majority of this book on audio. I did read a little bit of it, but majority of it I listened to on audio. I read it a little bit in here in this video. I loved this book so much. Genuinely, I loved it so much. I can understand people's like beef with it or like the bad reviews that I've seen on TikTok. I'm like, oh, that makes sense, but like those things didn't bother me. This book was recommended for me to read because it had been targeted towards Ninth House and Cruel Prince lovers, and I do really enjoy both those books, Ninth House more than Cruel Prince, like the dark academia of Ninth House and the fantasy elements in that book. It's my favorite book for a reason. I love it so much. This was dark academia with a mix of vampires, and I thought it was so entertaining. And I don't know if that's because of me listening to the audio. I don't know if that would have been different if I read it. I don't care. I really loved this book. At the very beginning of the book, the FMC's sister goes missing and she thinks that it's her family's vampire. So then she ends up going back to her family's house that they had ran away from when she was a kid to kind of confront him, but also take ownership of the house after another relative had died. And she just wants to be around this vampire so she can find out what the fuck happened to her sister. A lot of the reviews that I've seen of people saying they did not like this book mostly said that they didn't like it because they felt like it was incredibly choppy. I can see why they think it was a little bit choppy, but that did not bother me at all. I kind of liked some of the like clean cuts of the book. Didn't bother me. I don't know. I liked the flow of it, but I can understand how the flow of it might have not worked for some people. And that's all for the physical books that I own. Now let's get into the books that I don't own that I read on Kindle Unlimited. Here With Me by Brooke Montgomery. I cannot for the life of me remember what I rated this book. I think I gave it 3 stars or 3.5 stars. While I had so much fun reading this book, it's like a small town, age gap romance, cowboy romance. He's a farrier on her family's like ranch. While I had a good time reading this book, it was so hard to overlook the 30+ Taylor Swift references and mentions. It actually nearly sent me over the edge. 1 or 2 times, I can overlook it. I can handle it. I'm not a Swiftie hater. I'll say that over and over again every time I bring up this topic. I'm not even a hater. I just like, enough is enough. Sometimes you gotta put your foot down. And I'm trying to grab Deadly Occupants. It's all the way under this pile. But Deadly Occupants, that's a good example of it. Mentioned it once and then it moved on. I can handle that. I understand an author who really has a deep love for Taylor Swift putting in like one mention. I wish she wouldn't, but like I do understand from like a fangirl perspective doing that. Putting it in 30 plus times, that's crazy behavior. I actually DNF'd the second book because it started mentioning it. I probably got 5 mentions in the second book and I had to DNF it. This one, it was fun, but if you read it, you do need to know it is mentioned like so much. Maybe I am a hater, but I don't care. I had to speak my truth. White Hot by Alona Andrews. This is the second book in I think a 6-book fantasy series. I read Burn For Me in July and I really liked that book. It's a fantasy series that came out in like 2015, 2016, somewhere around there. So like before a lot of these fantasy books were really trope driven, before that era, before this era that we are in. Sometimes fantasy books that come out nowadays, they're just like so romantic-y trope driven and it irritates me a little bit. This was very much not. I didn't like this book as much as the first book, but I did have a lot of fun with it. And I do think you should read Burn For Me, which is the first book in the series, because that one was really good. I don't know if I'm going to continue the series anytime soon. Maybe next year. We'll see. Blood Orange and Black Rose. I read both of these books in this video and I really liked these books. I thought they were really fun. They were way too spicy for me. I think that the plot was really good and I wish the author would have taken away some of the spice and focused a little bit more heavily on the plot, because it was incredibly engaging and actually so phenomenal. But other than like the abundance of spice, great books, very fun reads. I did skip over like a lot of the spice scenes. The MMC of this book is Dracula, or at least Dracula by Bram Stoker was written based off of this vampire, but even he looks at the book's Dracula and he's like, that's not fully me. Like, it's kind of a basis of me, and then he like turned it and twisted it. So he is Dracula, but not really at the same time. The FMC of the book goes to be his student at the very beginning of the first book. She's a witch and she was sent there to like fake being his student under the Witches Guild so she can kill him. This is another one of those book series that's reincarnated lover, and I thought it was really well done, but it's not both of the characters getting reincarnated. He's immortal. He's been living. It's her getting reincarnated. Before she finds out that she is his reincarnated love, she's having a lot of deja vu, like what is happening, and she's there again to kill him, but then she kind of falls for him. And the end of the first book, when I tell you, it was so jaw-dropping. And if you watch that video, then you know my reaction to the end. My reaction was warranted. It was absolutely insane. I could not believe that the author had taken Blood Orange in that direction. I was gagged at the fact that she did that to us at the end of Blood Orange. Best Hex Ever. If you just want a rom-com witchy book, this is the book for you. That's really all it is, rom-com and witchy. I thought it was a really cute read. I gave it like 3.25 stars. The first 50% I absolutely loved. The last 50% felt a little bit flat for me, but that's because when I was reading the book, I was getting very much into my like deep fantasy kind of era again, and so I wanted it to be a little bit more, or at the moment that I was reading it, I needed more. But if you were just wanting a rom-com witchy book, I do recommend it. It is very adorable. The Invisible Life of Addie Laroo. I did read The Invisible Life of Addie Laroo in September. I was supposed to read it in August because this was the book that Taylor had picked for me when I had Book Girlies pick my TBR for the month of August, but I ended up pushing it off till September because I just didn't end up getting to it, to be honest. This one's not available on Kindle Unlimited, but I don't own it. I listened to the audio through Libby, and then is it available on Kindle? I don't think so. I don't know where I read this book from. Maybe I got both books from Libby. I bounced back and forth between the audio and the book on my Kindle, and I gave this book 5 stars. It was incredibly slow. The beginning especially is incredibly slow, but I think just push through it and it's so worth it, because by the end of it I felt like I had truly been punched in the stomach. And I now understand why Taylor, who is one of my best friends, absolutely loves this book. This is one of her favorite books ever. It really is incredibly well done and I loved everything about it. The book follows Addie Laroo, obviously, and she made a bargain in like the 1700s to get out of something. The basis of it is she is to live forever, and she is also alongside that to be forgotten by everybody that she meets. So the book spans over her entire life, and she truly is forgotten by every single person that she meets. So imagine walking into the gas station and you say hello to the guy at the counter, and then you go to the bathroom, and then you come out and he's like, who are you? Like, where did you come? I don't remember seeing anybody go into the bathroom. For like hundreds of years, she goes about this because of this bargain that she had made, until she runs into one character towards the middle of the book named Henry, who doesn't forget who she is. It was beautifully written, and again, by the end of it, I felt like I was punched in the stomach, and I think I even cried. I made like, oh my gosh, I sent video updates to Taylor. Hold on, we'll roll the footage here in a second. I sent video updates to Taylor because she wanted her own personal vlog. Let's roll the tapes. Okay, you wanted your own personal vlog? Here's your own personal vlog. I'm 39% in to Addie Laroo, and I'm already getting emotional thinking about what's gonna happen. Like, I'm already getting emo. I read the part where she repeats over and over again, I remember you, like over and over again. And then I was just like a blubbery mess because I'm like, this is sad as fuck. Like, putting myself in her shoes, I would actually be selling my soul. My soul would be gone. I don't think I could do this. Is this gonna destroy me? Because I'm scared, Tay. Didn't you cry? Did you cry? I feel like it's gonna wreck me.
What the fuck, Tay? Jesus Christ. I'm 70% through, and I'm afraid I'm emotionally attached to these characters at this point, so I'm just really scared. Like, there's tears forming in my eyes just thinking of everything that could happen, and I'm scared. I love Henry. I love Addie, obviously, but Henry, the fact that he, like, felt too much. Oh, God. Fuck you. But love you. But fuck you.
Bitch, I'm 85% through this book, and I'm scared. I'm scared. Like, I'm gonna be traumatized. I just know. 85% through. Oh my god. Oh my god. I was reading it at work last night. I had to put it away. I had to put it away, and I was mad because I really could have just read for another 2 hours there and, like, probably could have finished the book while I was just sitting there because it was slow. And I wasn't doing anything. I was just reading on my Kenny. I had to put the book away because I would have started sobbing. God, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. I'm literally crying. I'm literally crying because of, holy shit. Oh my god. The dedication, Taylor. Okay, it's done. And I feel wrecked. I feel like my stomach is like this right now. That was so good. I'm gonna give it 5 stars. 5 stars to Addie Laroo. And lastly, we have Lovely Bad Things, which I read in this video. I did not like this book. I wanted so badly to like this book. It had every single theme that is in a book that I normally tend to love. The dark academia, the dark romance, the eerie and spookiness of it. It had all the themes. I did not like it. I liked the beginning. Like, I thought it was really engaging and a very fast-paced book, and it held my attention from the start, and I was really hopeful from the start. But then it took like a philosophical turn to where it was just philosophically too much. There was too much philosophical jargon being thrown at me from left and right, and then an uppercut, and then like dropped on my head. It was just a little bit too much philosophical-ness for me, and then it started to lose me. And then I just didn't like it. I started to lose interest in the characters and the storyline, and it didn't work for me, which I'm really sad about because I had so much hope from the beginning and really, really loved the first 20%. The MMC of the book gets put in prison because of this woman who like kind of works for the FBI, the FMC of the book. And then she gets him out of prison to come help her on a case because she needs his philosophical mindset because he used to be a professor. And she's like, he's the only one he'll know what is going on with this case. So she gets him out and he like follows her along and helps her on the case. The premise of it sounds good. Unfortunately, did not work for me. And those are all the books that I read in August and September. I will have a vlog coming out for you guys later this week, so be on the lookout for that. But thank you guys so much for watching today's video, and I'll see you then.